Good day, everyone. My name is Giselle Naval, your OLC for Purposive Communication. Today we are going to discuss the continuation of Lesson 3 because we are now in the 7th week. So, for today, we will learn about the varieties and registers of spoken and written language. Let's start with the registers. What are registers? Registers are the styles of language, spoken and writing, that is appropriate for a certain situation. In the writing discipline, the registers determine the vocabulary, structure, and some grammar in writing. When we talk about register, we also take note of the level of relationship we have with that person. We also take note of the level of formality or informality depending on our relationship with the person we are speaking to or writing to. So, what are the appropriate words? What's the correct approach depending on our level of relationship? So, communication depends on how you communicate with different people. That's why I made mention a while ago about our kind of relationship with the person that we are conversing with. Here's an example. To your brother, sibling, to your sister, or maybe to your friend, when they visit you, you can just casually say, "What's up? Good thing you came to visit." But to the president of the company, to the president of the school, probably, "Good morning, Mr. President. Thank you for visiting." It's very obvious that the second one is definitely on a formal tone compared to the first one. The first one is very casual. It also depends on the relationship you have. You have your sibling. But the other one is for a delegate, is for a president of the certain institution or company. Therefore, you also deal with him or her accordingly in a very formal manner. Let's start with the formal language register. In academic writing, formal writing is required but said to be the most difficult because it uses formal language and formal structures of grammar. Common examples are essays, business letters, and reports, among others. So it is deemed to be the most difficult because it is highly structured. Alright? So examples are essays required for school because there is a certain condition that you need to satisfy. For example, your theme paper, you are discussing about the tenses. So after the vacation, expect that you will be asked to write an essay about your summer vacation or your Christmas vacation. And then there would be a condition like make sure to underline or to encircle all the verbs that you use in your essay. Because you are discussing about the verb tenses, probably you're discussing about the past tense. That's why there is a certain condition that you need to satisfy. Next, we have the business letters. So each business letter has a certain purpose, and business letters follow a certain format. There are also different parts of a business letter. One example of a business letter is a resume or also a cover letter. So for a cover letter, it is also known as the application letter. So it's called a cover letter because obviously it literally covers the resume. So what do we find in the business letter or cover letter, application letter? On the first paragraph, we find there your expression, your desire to apply in a certain position, which you have seen maybe on an online job posting or on an ad. On the second paragraph, you mention your most notable qualifications and characteristic related to the position that you're applying for. And on the third paragraph, the last one, you indicate your contact information and your desire. You express your desire to be interviewed at the most convenient time of the interviewer, of course. So that's an example of a business letter, the cover letter. It's highly structured. Even what you need to find per paragraph is expected from you. Next, we have the reports. Reports are like studies, okay? So they are fact based. They are also data-based. So you have to, say, carry out a simple survey in order to prove your point or your claim. And reports would also have format. That's it for the formal language register. Now let's move on to the next one. Informal language register. This is written a manner of talking to a closest someone such as friends and family. We use informal language in the following type of writing. We have personal emails, phone texts, short notes, friendly letters, blogs, diaries, and journals. Now take note the kind of relationship that you have with the person that you're talking to. You have your closest someone like friends and family members. So you have to use informal language when doing your personal emails, and let me combine that with the friendly letters. Friendly letters are the physical copies, but they have now their digital versions, which are the emails or the electronic mails. Friendly and personal emails or letters can be anything, can be on a topic as simple as sharing your experience, or, you know, just checking in with your friend or your family member, asking them how they are, what have they been up to recently, simple updates. That's it for the friendly and the personal emails or letters. And the tone is very casual. Say, "What's up? How have you been? Okay, um, hit me up whenever you need anything." And the tone for business letters is very different. For a business letter, "Dear Miss," and then the surname. "I hope this email finds you well," and then the content of your business letter or your business email. It's a different tone for the two. Next, we have phone text or short notes. For phone text, you are operating on a limited number of characters. The same goes for short notes. So phone text, if you want it to be more urgent, because even if you have now the email which can be sent at a one click, it also depends if the person will be checking his or her email. If you want something to be more urgent, you can resort to using the phone text or the text message, SMS. So you are operating on a limited number of characters. That's why some you are not expected to do correct spelling, correct punctuations when you are sending a text message. For example, in Tagalog, yung "dito na mi." Okay? Diba? It's like "nandito na ako." That's how you would send it. Okay, pardon me for speaking in Tagalog because I need to explain this concept in a more relatable way. Alright, so for the phone text, you operate in a limited number of characters. So, "andito na ako" versus "dito na mi." Of course, the second expression has fewer number of characters, but you also were able to send the same message across. Short notes, on the other hand, are meant for announcements, reminders, usually found in bulletin boards. During the face-to-face transactions before, we have the bulletin boards, but you know what? We also have the digital bulletin boards now. You can take a look at it. We have padlet.com. You can explore it for yourself. Okay, so for next we have the blogs, diaries, and journals. Diaries and journals are day-to-day accounts of what happened. It's a chronicle of your life on a day-to-day basis. It may be your important realization or maybe a narrative of what happened during your day. So diaries and journals are the hard copy versions, but then they have now their electronic version, which is the blog. And also the video version, which is the vlog or the video log. And if you would notice, for all of these, you make use of the informal language. No one is there to correct your grammar. No one is there to check whether you use the correct tenses. It's meant to express. It's meant to pour out whatever you want to say. Alright, for personal consumption most of the time. So that is informal language register. Next, we have the neutral language register. In neutral writing, it doesn't necessarily need to be formal or informal, and it is incorporated with non emotional topics. It is not positive nor negative, but also delivers facts. An example of this is reviews. So for neutral writing, we have to take note of the keyword non emotional topic. What we find in our textbooks say it's about the solar system, to write up about the solar system, that would fall under neutral writing. Reviews, because in a review, a proper review would explore both the pros and cons of a certain product, service, of a venue, a movie, or a book, or whatever. It would explore both the pros, the cons, and then it would give out a conclusion and a recommendation based on the pros and the cons. And you know what? The recommendation is not really very one-sided, because it would say that, okay, I recommend this to you if you like this, but I do not recommend this to you if you don't like this one. Basically, from the pros and cons explored as well. We can also have manuals. Manuals, say device manuals, that's also neutral, because you only explain how something or the device is going to be used. Non-emotional topics, but it's sure to deliver facts. So it's fact-based, highly informative, but non-emotional. That's neutral language register. All right. So now, also it includes articles, okay, letters, essays, depending on the topic. Always remember non-emotional topics. And technical writing, like what I made mention a while ago about the manuals and policies, guidelines, stuff like that would fall under the neutral language register. Now let's move on to the different styles in spoken English. We actually have 5. Now, let's start with the most far off in the level of relationship. So frozen. Frozen is also known as static register. These are printed, unchanging language such as biblical quotations and often contains archaisms. Again, that's unchanging, not unhanging. So unchanging language. It has been like that since time immemorial. If ever it changes, it's very minimal. Okay, so the Pledge of Allegiance of the United States, our Panatang Makabayan, belongs to the frozen language register. Also, lyrics of songs belong to the frozen language register. For example, there's an oath-taking, newly licensed teachers, perhaps, right? So the level of relationship you have with the people around you who will be doing the taking as well. It's just on that professional level. You are only teachers. You barely know anyone. Even if you have your friend there, you're not supposed to be chummy during that event. But you are supposed to take an oath as teachers. Alright, so that's frozen language register. Lyrics of songs, prayers, this would fall under frozen language register. For lyrics of songs, you can have issues with the copyright if ever you try to change the lyrics without asking permission or without indicating or giving proper citation to the original version. That's how sacred, perhaps, frozen language register is. It contains archaisms because it's deemed to be very, very old, right? And you only use it on specific occasions, like oath taking, if you're doing a prayer, regardless of your religion, you have your own set of prayers. Okay, now let's move a little bit closer. Now have the formal language register. This one is one-way participation, no interruptions to be made, technical vocabulary or exact definitions are important, and included presentations or introductions between strangers. One way, for example, a webinar. That is very one way. When the speaker starts with a talk, people are not allowed, or the audience is not allowed to interrupt. highly technical terms will be explained, and so on and so forth. Now, there will be a specific part wherein you can address your questions, the question and answer portion. But during the discussion, during the presentation of the speaker, you are not allowed to interrupt. That's why it becomes one way. So, in presentations like that, for example, you have your thesis or study to defend after a panel or before a panel, that's also formal. Any business presentation you have at school, that's also formal. Introductions between strangers. Of course, if it's your first time seeing that person, that's why I believe I discussed this in the previous session. When it's your first time being in the presence of that someone, considering also that you have cultural differences, you have to be formal. It's safer to do it that way. And if you only have a limited time to interact with that person, say you just met him at a mall, so a friend of your friend, but there is a limited time to interact. So, hi, hello, this is, I am, bye. That's just how the interaction would go, very formal. All right. Now let's take a step closer. Again, we have consultative. So, consultative, on the other hand, is two-way participation. Background information is provided, but prior knowledge is not assumed. And we also have here the back channel behavior such as I see, etc. And interruptions are allowed. It's two-way participation because it is a conversation between an expert and someone who consults from the expert. So a consultant and a non-expert. So background information is provided. For example, we have the doctor-patient consultative relationship. Okay, so the background information would be the medical history. Remember, before you meet with the doctor, before you can actually talk with the doctor, you have to fill out first the medical history form. And maybe the assistant would be doing the initial screening or interview regarding your medical history. So that's the background information. For student teacher type of consultation, the background information would be the student profile. And the student profile should be filled out at the beginning, and it should be within the possession of the teacher so that he or she has an idea of the kind of students that he or she has. Next, we have the prior knowledge. It is not assumed because this person consulting or doing the consultation from the expert is assumed to be a non-expert in that field. Prior knowledge is not assumed. All right? Then we also have the back channel behavior. So when the expert is already explaining that something to the non-expert, the back channel behavior is common. I see, that's why. Oh, that's the reason why, doc, I am experiencing this and that. Reactions and expressions like that are referred to as back channel behaviors. And in here, interruptions are allowed. Say, you want to raise a concern even if the doctor is still explaining or the teacher is still explaining something, but you already want to raise your concern, you are allowed to do so. Just as long as you do it politely and correctly. Okay, so you have that certain relationship, you have that certain closeness now, but it's limited to a consultant and consultant and non-expert relationship, such as doctor to patient, student to teacher, and coach to trainee, boss to apprentice, something like that for consultative. Next, we have, this one is on a closer level now. We have casual. So it's in group, such as friends and acquaintances. No background information is provided. Ellipses and slang are common, and interruptions are common. So for the casual language register, these are the conversations we carry out with our friends, and of course, their acquaintances. Now, you might be confused. I thought you are supposed to be formal if it's with an acquaintance. An acquaintance is someone that you know, maybe by name, or you know that they're from another department. But in an in-group setting, the setting, say it's a party, it's a team building event. You have ample time to interact. You are given that time to interact with other people. Then you can be casual. If it's a friend of your friend, you don't really know this person, but you are in that setting, you can be casual with the friend of your friend. Why? So as not to make the atmosphere awkward. So as not to make the other person feel that he or she does not belong. So in here, no background information is provided because you are friends with this person, and perhaps you can get to know the acquaintance or the friend of your friend because you're given enough time to interact. In here also, ellipsis and slang are common. Ellipsis is the intentional taking out or omission of some words or group of words, but not uh, but not removing or distorting the original meaning. Okay, I'll give you an example. Allow me to speak in Tagalog because I want to explain this better. Okay, you heard someone speaking like this. Alam mo kanina ay nakakita ako ng dalawang babae. Ang ingay talaga ng dalawa na yon. Okay. So from there, dalawang babae, ang ingay talaga ng dalawa na yon. There was no need to mention again babae. The ending words would be dalawa na yon. And we know right away that the one being pertained to are those two girls. Dalawang maingay na babae. But there is no need to repeat verbatim all of those words. We already have the common understanding that, oh, they are the ones being pertained to. Slang. Slang is street language. Okay? It doesn't have anything to do with how words are said. We have that misconception about it that, oh, she just came from America and now she talks in slang. Okay, pa-slang-slang na. When you talk about slang, it's street language. It's something that has been coined. These are words that are coined by certain groups. Gay lingo is a slang. Okay, yorme, yorme, takwarents, etneb, these are slangs. Lodi, pet, malu, these are slangs. Right? Also in the internet world, we have lit, dope, sheesh, these are slang. So interruptions are common in casual conversations or in the casual language register. Of course, when we are, listening to the stories of our friend, we want to get into the details right away. So even if they're not yet done, we tend to ask them, oh, okay, what happens next? Oh, really? So what did you do? Alright, so it's very common in casual language register. Now, the closest relationship we have intimate. This is the last one. So it's non-public. In here, intonation is more important than wording or grammar. You have a private vocabulary, and it also included nonverbal messages. This is common among family members and close friends. It is non-public. These are actions, behaviors that we do only with someone who's very close to us on an intimate level. That's why we find it cringy. No, that's a slang. We find it cringy when we see people doing PDA or public display of affection because we have that instinct that actions like those should not be done in public. It should be done in private when it's only between the two of you. Okay, so in here, intonation is more important than the wording or grammar. You would not be corrected in terms of grammar or in terms of the word that you use, but how you said it, how you said something would matter more. Hence the intonation. Private vocabulary can also have code names, aliases for people. Say, oh, I saw, mm-hmm, I saw Jenny earlier. You can call her Jenny even though that's not her real name, but you refer to her as Jenny for some reason. So private vocabulary that only the two of you has a shared common understanding, have a shared common understanding. And then it also includes nonverbal messages, like which is how you look at them, which is a mere look, a rubbing of the shoulders. It already sends a message. Say your crush came in, all right? And then you just have to look at your friend, your best friend even, and he or she has to look at you. No words have to be said, and you smile. Both of you would smile. A message was sent, even though no words were said. So just by looking at each other, you already know what you mean. So that's one example of the nonverbal message. And again, this is common among family members and close friends. I have to be clear about this among family members, among close family members rather, because sometimes we are not very close with our family members. But you know, in times like this, the pandemic times when we are most of the time at home, let's try to make that conscious effort to be close to them. Let's just try. Let's just take that step. And who knows, it might help us out a lot because you know these are really trying times and really need people to talk to lean on, and you know people whom we can trust. All right. So that's about it for the different language registers. Alright, so what's the importance of discussing all of those things? If you know the correct language register to use and how to utilize that, you also know your level of relationship. You also know how to be, up to what extent can you be informal or formal with this person, because you are aware of your relationship, you are aware of the language registers. That's it. Thank you so much for listening and have a good day.